You've all heard of this ice bucket challenge to raise money for the for ALS research.
Indeed.
And there's been criticism and there's been praise, and everyone has their good reasoning here. But I would say that everyone should definitely criticize these individuals who have recently taken part in the ice bucket challenge. And I'm speaking about lawmakers who took this ice bucket challenge, but then in the same ways trying to raise money, previously cut funds for ALS research. Huffington Post writes, in the passage of the Budget Control Act of 2011, which was the bill to save the U.S. government from default, funding cuts were made to the National Institute of Health. It was forced to slash an estimated $1.55 billion from its programs. Among those was the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke. In the fiscal year 2013, the NINDS budget was $1.53 billion, a $92 million decrease from its 2012 fiscal year budget. For ALS-specific research, the funding went from $44 million to $39 million. While some of it was restored by a budget deal negotiated into law in 2014, the funding for the NINDS went up $1.587 billion, which is still roughly $35 million short of where it stood before the sequestration. Now, this list is a list of lawmakers, both Democrat and Republican. Now, again, some of them had reasons, which was basically they had to basically give in some areas. To me, it doesn't excuse them. But each had their own reasons. And I'm going to read this list. They took part in the Ice Bucket Challenge, voted to defund the agency that also funds ALS research. John Barrow, Democrat in Georgia. Timothy Bishop, Democrat in New York. Robert Bradley, Democrat in Pennsylvania. John Carney, Democrat in Delaware. David Sisselin, Democrat in Rhode Island. Michael Grimm, Republican, New York. Good old Michael Grimm. Hope he doesn't threaten me for reporting this.
He'll break you.
He'll break me. Adam Kinzinger, Republican in Illinois. Jim Langevin, Democrat in Rhode Island. Frank Lombiondo, Republican in New Jersey. Jim Hines.
Hey!
Jim Hines, Democrat in Connecticut. Steve Israel, Democrat in New York. Lynn Jenkins, Republican in Kansas. Representative Tom Rooney, Republican in Florida. Rep. Paul Ryan, Republican in Wisconsin. Eric Paulson, Republican in Minnesota. And Ed Perlmutter, Democrat in Colorado. And again, while none of these specified they wanted to cut ALS research, they certainly cut the agency responsible for funding it. And also I want to point out that, a lot of them are going to say, for example, as Tim Carney pointed out in the Washington Examiner, that, they'll argue that they want to support this funding, but they're against the federal government being the ones that funded it. Now, if that's your reasoning for cutting it in 2011, why is it taking you to 2014 to raise some money for it? Why is it taking you to 2014 to make this an issue that you want to be shown? I'm going to assume, now call me crazy, but I'm going to assume because this Ice Bucket Challenge is getting a lot of press, and they wanted to jump aboard the viral train, toot toot.